This is an overview of the Glock 26 Gen 4, a pistol that I have owned for the past 10 months and a fairly regular part of my EDC for much of that time. The 26 is a striker-fired, subcompact 9mm pistol with a 10+1 capacity. It is manufactured with the standard Glock formula of a polymer frame and ordnance-grade steel. It is 6.41 inches long, 1.18 inches wide, 4.17 inches tall, and weighs 21.71 ounces unloaded and around 26 ounces loaded. The Glock 26, commonly known as the Baby Glock, was introduced in 1994 as a more concealable double-stack option. It was designed with a concealed carrier in mind, but it is one of those pistols that I feel could easily fill a variety of roles if needed. It uses the same basic design of the Glock 17 and 19, and shares several different parts with those two models, as well as the ability to take 17 or 19 magazines, and will fit in most 17 or 19 holsters. To get a sense of the size of the Glock 26, we'll compare it to the 19. You can see that the grip is substantially shorter on the 26, which accounts for about 3/4 of an inch difference in height, and the overall length difference between the two pistols is a little less than an inch. The barrel length of the 19 is 4 inches, while the 26 is 3.4 inches. They are exactly the same thickness. The stock plastic sights that came on this 26 were swapped out immediately after purchasing. Like many other shooters have found, Glock sights are one of the weak points of these pistols' design. The sight picture just doesn't really work well for me, and I don't like having plastic sights on a defensive handgun. All of my Glocks have had metal sights installed. These are night sights. This is a Meprolite rear and a Mariglow front sight. They work as intended, and I can pick them up easily. One of the many great things about Glock pistols is you can pick from a myriad of options and install what works best for you. This fourth generation of Glocks was introduced in 2010. Gen 4 Glocks ship with a few backstrap options that are easily added on to adapt to different grip preferences, but I find that the stock backstrap works fine for me. Gen 4 Glocks also includes the dual recoil spring, which increases spring service life. The trigger on the Glock 26 isn't worth spending too much time on. It's your standard striker-fired trigger, and it pulls about 5.5 pounds. I shoot my Glocks more than any other firearm I own, so I'm just used to it at this point, and I enjoy shooting it. It's perfectly usable. Ergonomically, the grip is standard double stack, but short and stubby. I have smaller hands and my pinky still kind of hangs off the grip. It's obviously not the ideal shooting grip, but the compromise comes in concealability, and as with everything, once you spend some time shooting it, the size of the grip is really not a hindrance. I spent enough time with it that picking up the 26 after carrying or shooting something else feels like coming home. The magazine holds 10 rounds. As stated before, the 26 will also take 19 or 17 magazines, and there are grip extensions that allow for extra capacity as well. I have also seen some grip adapters for 19 and 17 magazines that will slip over the magazine and fill out the grip on a 26. Living in a magazine-restricted state, this means a little less for me than it will for those of you free staters. I do like the magazine compatibility just because I own a 19 and 17 and have a bunch of spare mags for both, but in terms of capacity, I'm not gaining anything by using these magazines. If you were carrying a 26, having a G17 magazine with 17 rounds as a spare would be a pretty formidable loadout. I have a few 26 magazines with grip extensions from Fixer that I found on Amazon, and they do a good job providing for a full grip and give my pinky a place to rest. I do most of my shooting with the standard magazine, but like having the option to get a better purchase on the gun if needed. I frequently carry a magazine with one of these grip extensions as my spare. I've been shooting 115 grain and 124 grain FMJ range ammo and 124 grain hollow points out of my 26 almost exclusively, so I can't shed any light on my experience with various heavier or plus P 9mm loads. I probably have about 2,000 rounds through the 26 and have yet to experience a stoppage or malfunction and don't really expect to have any issues for the next few thousand rounds until it becomes time to change out a recoil spring or something like that. It has done fine with any brand of ammo I've fed it, including some steel case Tula. I do some sort of cleaning after every range trip, but regardless, the reliability of all of my Glocks is what excites me most about them. I don't expect to ever come close to hundreds of thousands of rounds, but you hear stories about serious shooters who are at the range constantly with Glocks with this kind of round count, and they're still running, albeit with some parts replaced. Expect a Glock to take abuse like a champ. For defensive ammo, I load it with 124 grain Spear gold dots and have fired close to 200 of these through the 26 without a single hiccup. I have found every Glock pistol I have shot to be very accurate, especially as needed for a concealed carry weapon. I haven't done a bench-rested accuracy test, but I still think that the 26 shoots better than I do. If I take my time, I find I can get some pretty tight groups out to 25 yards, which is about the maximum range I shoot this thing at. Recoil is a non-issue. One of the advantages of the 26 over the many single-stack 9s that saturate the market is that it shoots a lot better because of the added mass and weight. I don't notice a big change in shootability between the 26 and 19. The grip will make a difference, but recoil is negligible. Maintaining the 26 is simple. Glock pistols are easy to break down and uncomplicated to keep running smoothly. I usually clean out the bore and brush or wipe down the internals after a range trip, but that isn't really even necessary with a Glock. There are plenty of examples of people running through thousands of rounds before cleaning. I keep my 26 lubricated and recently made the switch to high-temp wheel bearing grease because it's cheap and it works great. Parts are easy to source and easy to change out. I always think it's a good idea to keep a spare recoil spring and some other pins and springs on hand for any pistol that you rely on. The 26 carries easily. Having a shorter grip is the most important part of concealing a pistol, much more so than the overall length, and it is really evident in carrying the 26 versus the 19. Printing is drastically reduced. At 4 or 5 o'clock with a forward cant, the 26 disappears inside the waistband. I usually carry my 26 appendix in a Filster Classic Kydex holster, which is a phenomenal holster option for appendix carrying a Glock. The short grip of the 26 conceals easily, and I am comfortable concealing it in just a t-shirt. I also occasionally carry my 26 in a Fierce Defender Winter Warrior or a Blade Tech G19 holster inside the waistband at 4 o'clock. And for carrying the 26 around the house or stowing it on my nightstand, it rides in this Remora clipless holster, which is a quality, affordable holster option. As you have probably noticed, I've done some simple mods to the 26 in addition to the night sights. I put Talon grips on it, which feel great but also don't irritate my skin if I'm carrying without an undershirt. I got rid of the finger grooves for the most part, but left a little bump on the grip. The Gen 5 Glocks have already done this for you. I also took a Dremel and undercut the trigger guard to allow for a higher grip on the pistol, and took a little out of the underside of the trigger guard as well. There's a piece of skateboard tape on the underside of the trigger guard with a fairly aggressive texture, just for that small amount of extra traction it provides. I also stippled the frame where my trigger finger rests and on the opposite side where my support thumb stays. I don't buy Glocks for investment value or to be kept in the safe, and I don't mod my Glocks to look cool. They are purely functional defensive tools. They are carried or kept in similar defensive role, and they're taken to the range and shot regularly. So no, I didn't hire someone to mill my slide or do a custom stipple job. Not that there's anything wrong with a cool, heavily modified custom Glock, but this is just kind of where my head is at right now. When it all comes down to it, the Glock 26 is one of my most favorite firearms. If I had to choose just one pistol for the rest of my life, it'd be either this or the 19. That would be a really tough call. I haven't had a single issue with it. It's practically accurate, it carries comfortably, and conceals well. The aftermarket is extensive, and it's a terrific value. I know that the Glock 26 will be riding on my belt or resting on the nightstand for years to come. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching it, I would appreciate your subscription and a like. Take care, folks.